How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another AP United States Government and Politics video. In this video, I'm going to teach you guys how to write the argumentative essay on the AP exam. So I'm going to go through how you get all the points. I'm going to go through the rubric, answer any questions, anything you need for the argumentative essay. This is new. It's never been seen before on the AP exam, and is it tasty? So let's get right into the video. Now, I'm about to switch modes, and so you can see my desk right here. Like, you can see if I move down the camera. You can see that I've got the prompt right here, and I've got the exam. But College Board has released a practice exam. You can go on their website, and you can find their practice exam on the College Board AP Central website. And I recommend you go download it and check it out, because this is a new exam. It's redone for 2019. You've never really seen it before. You've never really seen the content or how it's structured. You've seen the content, but you haven't seen how it's structured. And so I recommend picking it up and checking out question 4. We're going to take a look at question 4, the argumentative essay. And without further ado, I'm going to switch to my desk, and let's get this party started. Alright, so here we are in my desk, so you can see what I'm writing down here. And I've got the prompt listed out right here in front of me. And you can... Basically, again, as I said earlier, you can find this prompt on College Board, but what we're going to do today is we're going to dissect this prompt, and I need to grab my blue pens back here. We're going to dissect this prompt together, and we're going to talk about how to write. We're not actually going to write it, but we're going to talk about how to write the argumentative essay. So without further ado, let's go ahead and read the prompt and see a type of prompt. So this is, again, the prompt that College Board has posted, and we can read what this prompt is. So it says to develop an argument that explains which of the 3 models of representative democracy, either participatory, pluralist, or elite democracy, best achieves the founders' intent for American democracy in terms of ensuring a stable government run by the people. Alright. So before we go any further, the first thing I want to stop and talk about is I want you to first, I'm going to write it up here, I want you to first analyze the question. I want you to first analyze the question. A lot of times, this is the last question you're going to see on the AP exam. A lot of times, students are just brain dead by the time the AP exam, by the end of the AP exam, everyone's just kind of dead and, is just not paying attention. You're dumber than you think when you get to this point in the exam. And so a lot of people will read this and they're like, oh, I need to write about the best form of democracy. But that's not true. You're not arguing what you think the best form of democracy is. You're arguing what form of democracy best achieves the founders' intent for American democracy in terms of ensuring a stable government run by the people. So you're not arguing which you think is the best. You're arguing what best achieves the founders' intent for American democracy. Now again, whenever you write these kinds of essays, there's always multiple answers. So you could argue from any one of these 3 models. It doesn't matter, but you've got to argue from one of these models based on the founders' intent for American democracy. You've got to keep that in mind when writing this essay. So next up, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at your first point you receive. So this essay, we should keep in mind, this essay is out of 6. The total value that this essay is worth is at 6 points total. Now, it's not like AP Ling, where you need to make it flow and be nice and fancy. If you get in and get out and do what you need to do, you're going to get full points on this essay. College Board is not grading you on how well can you write an essay like they are in AP Ling. They're grading you on how well you understand United States government and politics. So that's what this essay is going to reflect. Okay? I should also note, before we get further in, that I would recommend that you take, and this is what College Board recommends, that you take 40 minutes. You take 40 minutes to plan and write this essay, okay? So 40 minutes, that means on the other 3 questions, out of your 100 total minutes, you're going to spend 20 on the other questions. We'll talk about test strategies later. But 40 minutes on this specific argumentative question. Now, the first thing you're going to do is, all of this bullet point stuff, they're going to give to you on the AP exam. So you'll get to see this whole spiel on the AP exam. So for starters, you're going to need to write a thesis. Like in any essay, you're going to need to write a thesis. And it says, articulate a defensible claim or thesis that responds to the prompt and establishes a line of reasoning. Now this thesis is worth 1 point. You can see it down here. I included the rubric down here. The thesis is worth 1 point. And you get 1 point as long as you write a claim. But it's not that simple. It's got to be a defensible claim, okay? That responds to the question. Now, here's the thing. if you simply restate the prompt, you're gonna get 0 points on the thesis. That is not good. You can't simply restate the prompt. The other thing is it has to establish a line of reasoning. Now, a lot of you are confused on, oh my gosh, what is a line of reasoning? Basically, if you include the word because. So, for example, participatory democracy best achieves the founder's intent for American democracy because it allows the people to be involved in the policy-making process, or it allows the people to be involved in elections, or whatever. As long as if you have that because, if you simply just have participatory democracy best achieves the founder's intent for American democracy, that's restating the prompt, and you don't get any points. Restate the prompt, and then add a because. Why are you arguing from that position? And you're going to get an easy point for your thesis. The other thing I should point out while we're on this thesis step right here is that if you do not earn the thesis point, you can get a maximum of 1 out of 6 on this essay. So if you get a 0 on this, you can only get a 1 out of 6 on this entire essay. You cannot get anything more than a 1 on this essay. So it's super critical that you nail the thesis in order to get a high score on the exam. It's the difference between a 1 and a 5. So we're going to go ahead and check off that thesis. We got the thesis done. So now that we have a thesis, once you articulate a defensible claim or thesis that responds to the prompt and establishes a line of reasoning, after that, you're going to have to support your claim. And when you support your claim, you're going to have to support your claim with at least 2 pieces of accurate and relevant information. And now you guys are thinking, oh my gosh, I have to pull 2 pieces of evidence out of my head. This is going to be so hard. You guys, think about it. This is 2 pieces of evidence for the whole essay. Now, if you guys have taken AP European History or APUSH, you guys are probably using 2 pieces of evidence per paragraph in like a 5-paragraph essay. So you're probably using, or even AP Lang, you guys are using like 6 pieces of evidence each essay. You only need 2 in this entire essay. So I'm wondering why College Board's even calling it an essay, but hey, I'm not going to argue. But you have to support your claim with at least 2 pieces of evidence of accurate and relevant information, and it's got to do these 2 things. 1 piece of evidence has to be from one of the following foundational documents, and they'll give you 3 foundational documents that you can use. Now, they're going to be different depending on what the prompt is. In this case, we have to use Brutus I, Federalist Number 10, and the United States Constitution. Now, when you took this class, you were required to know 9 foundational documents. You're supposed to know, I can't see it, but you're supposed to know 9 foundational documents. And I'm going to go over in another video. I'm going to go over those 9 foundational documents really quick for you guys so you guys understand the big concepts. But you've got to know your 9 foundational documents because 3 of those documents are going to appear. And 1 of those pieces of evidence have to be from one of these 3 documents or else you won't get the point. Okay? So how do you get points for evidence? Actually, let's talk about the second piece of evidence. So then what they're going to do is they're going to tell you, all right, 1 piece of evidence has to be from a foundational document. And then they're going to say your second piece of evidence has to come from either one of the following. It has to come from either a second foundational document, so you can use another foundational document if you so choose, or it'll tell you that you can use any piece of information from United States government and politics related to a certain topic. So it'll say, so like in this case, since we're talking about political forms of democracy, where you can talk about another foundational document, or you can talk about your study of the electoral process. So for your second piece of evidence, you can do one of the 2, whatever fits your fancy. So how do you get the points for the evidence? Well, the way I like to write out my evidence is I like to follow this process. I like to, for evidence, I don't know, where should I write this? I think I'm going to write this. I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to write it over here. So for your evidence, the way I like to work on my evidence is I like to, first off, I like to name it. So when you're citing some evidence, you're going to name the evidence you're citing. You're going to describe it. You're going to describe that evidence. So if it's like, say, the Electoral College, you're going to describe what is the Electoral College in relation to the prompt. And then thirdly, you're going to argue it. You're going to use, probably here, you're probably going to use like a this shows that. I love my freshman English teacher showed me this phrase, this shows that, and it is perfect for any argument essay you do. I know some teachers like are infuriated by watching this, but I use this all the time. I use this all the time on my in my A push class, on my AP exam. This shows that helps with the argue step. In the argue step, you're basically linking your evidence back to your claim. And that's very important, because how can you argue from a position if you're not going to link your evidence back to your claim? So every time you use a piece of evidence, your first sentence should be to name the evidence and then describe what that evidence is in relation to the prompt. So you're going to name it, describe it, maybe describe what it is in the context of the prompt, in the context of the problem, and then you're going to argue it. You're going to talk about why that piece of evidence actually relates back to your thesis. Now, if you do that, you're going to get 3 points. You're going to get 1 point for simply doing this step. This step nets you 1 point on the AP exam. So if you simply name it, actually, if you simply name it and describe it, that's going to get you this first point right here. Okay, so we got this first point. And then you're going to get a second point if you use one piece of specific and relevant evidence. So if your evidence is relevant to the prompt and it makes sense that you should use that evidence in that scenario based on the prompt, you're going to get a second point. And you're going to get a third point if you use a second piece of evidence that is obviously relevant to the prompt. So if you write just some random historical gobbledygook, but it's true and it's correct historical gobbledygook, you're going to get 1 point. But you're not going for 1, you're going for 3. So as long as you use 2 pieces, you don't even, guys, this is not even connecting it back to your thesis. If you just simply state 2 pieces of relevant evidence that could relate to the prompt, you get 3 points. Guys, it's easy. 3 points for just writing 2 pieces of evidence that relate to your prompt and not even connecting it back to your thesis. Then finally, you get 1 point for what they call the reasoning point. This is the reasoning point. And you get this point if you explain how your evidence supports the claim. So it says up here, use reasoning to explain why your evidence supports your claim. So when you did this right here, you did it, you argued it. If you do this, you get your 5th point, as long as if you connect it back to your thesis. Now, technically, by the AP rubric, as long as you do it once, you're good. I would do it for every single piece of evidence you use. I would always connect it back to your thesis, because if you do it bad once and then you do it great in another spot, you'll still be able to get this point. And then finally, in order to get a maximum score, you have to do what they call respond to an opposing or alternative perspective using refutation, concession, or rebuttal. Now, this probably means a bunch of gobbledygook that doesn't make sense to you, and guess what? It doesn't make sense to me either. But what I can make out of it is that this is your counter-argument. Your counter-argument. So, in order to maximize the score on your argument essay, you're going to need to include a counter-argument. So you're going to address the other side. You're going to say, all right, well, this side believes this. You know, some may say that, like, if you argued from elite democracy, you might say that some people say that participatory democracy is best achieves the founder's intent for American democracy because this, and this. And then you'll say, but then you'll say, actually, they're wrong because this, and this. And you'll then say, you'll address their point of view and be like, yeah, they are right for this, and this, but actually they're wrong because of this, and this. That'll get you 1 point for responding to the alternative point of view, and that'll net you a 6 on the essay. Now, before I end this video, I want to mention, it's got to be consistent with the argument in order to get that point. And then finally, if you simply state it, you simply address it, that's no points. You can't simply just say, yup, there's another side to this argument. You've got to build upon that. You've got to show why that side is wrong, or why you still believe what you believe, okay? So if you simply just spend a sentence saying, yep, it's wrong, you're not going to get that point. You have to in order to get this point, you've got to state it, and you got to explain it, okay? So you got to state it, and then you got to explain it. If you state the other side and then explain the other side, you're going to get that last point, netting you a 6 out of 6 on this essay. And guys, that is how to write the argumentative essay. Make sure you've got a defensible claim. As long as it makes sense and I can show you took an argument, you took a position, you're going to get that thesis point. And then 3 points for simply just stating 2 pieces of evidence that just make logical sense and are if they're historically accurate and they make logical sense. The other thing I want to throw in there is that you can't use the same document more than once. So more than likely, they'll probably have one that has the United States Constitution as one of your foundational documents. Here's the thing, is if for one, let's say for one piece of evidence you use the 12th Amendment. I'm just making up random amendments. They may or may not relate to this prompt, but let's say that you use the 12th Amendment, and then for your first piece of evidence, and then for your second piece of evidence, you use, say, the 17th Amendment. You don't get this point. You actually would end up getting a 2 out of 3. Assuming you did everything right for both of these, you would only get a 2 out of 3. Because you cannot, technically, even though they're 2 different amendments, they're from the same document. They're both from the U.S. Constitution. So it's the same piece of evidence. Okay? So when it says another, it's got to be different. You can't use 2 amendments you can't use 2 U.S. constitutional amendments as 2 separate pieces of evidence. Now, you can reuse that evidence for your counter argument. You can reuse it there. So if you use an amendment for your first piece of evidence, you used, say, Brutus 1 here, and then you use another amendment in your counter argument, that's completely fine. Just keep that in mind. You have to have different pieces of evidence. With that being said, you guys are going to go out there and write a 6 for that essay. Don't forget to bring a nice pen, a nice fun pen to write with that's filled with good ink. And you guys, I'm not worried about you. You guys are going to nail that argumentative essay. Now that you guys know how to write it, make sure you analyze the question, write it in 40 minutes, write a good thesis, just say some good evidence, connect it back to your claim down here, connect it back to your claim, and have a counter argument. Guys, it's a 4-paragraph, 5-paragraph essay. You guys got this in 40 minutes. It's not too bad. I know you guys are going to max out a score on the AP exam for this essay. So thank you guys so much for watching me debrief the argument essay question. If this was helpful, please leave a like and subscribe and come on board. I've got also AP Calculus videos. If you guys are soon to be AP Calculus students, you guys can check out my videos on AP Calculus. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in another AP United States Government and Politics video. See you then!